Welcome back, everybody. Welcome back to another video. This time we are in Dubai, or called the UAE. Why are we in the UAE? Why are we in Dubai? Well, we're going to talk today about Replica Magic Gathering art and also paintings that were done that were not actually printed as cards. And this is the reason why we're here in Dubai. Check it out. Here it is. The original art for Bazaar of Baghdad for Magic Online. We're going to talk more about why people are investing in replica art and also cards that are not actually printed in an actual set. The Bazaar of Baghdad was actually for a set called Magic Online. And it was only for cards on Magic Online. You usually play vintage or legacy formats on there. And they obviously came out with Magic Arena, but this art was used for Bazaar Baghdad, the card online only. And before they would use other images like the Black Lotus, the Power 9, etc. as the original art. But Wizards started to do commissions for art that, for Magic Online, that was not of the original printing. So for example, the Moxes, Volkan Baga did them, and they were absolutely gorgeous. They were basically given as prizes for the Vintage Championship, which were actual paintings and trophies you could have. And Magic Online used those Volkan Baga ones years ago for the images. There are no cards. There are no cards of the Bazaar Baghdad or these other Moxes to obviously protect the reserve list. But this image is the only Bazaar Baghdad, other than the Arabian Nights one, that was created by Jeff Mingus back in 1992-93. Or actually 1993-94. So I believe it was 1992 is when he created that Bazaar Baghdad. Now I think about it. But anyway, this is the only other piece out there. Now, fittingly, it's sold to a collector in the UAE. And it's going to him today. And I'm going to talk now more about the marketplace for the replicas and cards that are not printed in an actual card, and why people are investing in these, and why you probably did not know about it, and you should be investing in it. And it's a very, very undervalued marketplace for these collectibles. While this one sold for $60,000, well, not a cheap price tag. This is the only piece that has ever been created of an iconic image. And arguably, I have to say, it's the most beautiful piece. It has every aspect of a Bazaar going for it. It's fun. It's very very hangable art. Has all these nods to pieces in Magic and things in Magic. I love this flying carpet guy, by the way. I don't know if you guys saw that. Been panning around this for a while. What other Easter eggs do you see on here for Magic or other fantasy things that you see on here? Put in the comments below. I'm curious to hear. All right, guys, enjoy the next part of the video when I talk about the financials. Congratulations to the collector who got this. All right, guys, in celebration of going to Lucca, Italy for Thanksgiving, I'm not going to be going to Thanksgiving this year with our family. Instead, we are going to Italy with Jerry Terratelli. That's right. The famous magic artist in Chicago. I've been working with Jerry for the last 5 years or so, and on his commissions, prints, artist proof, artwork, etc. I have exclusive prints of the Richard Port available going to Lucca, Italy. But for you guys, instead of charging the full retail price around $200 to $175 US, for you guys who are interested, who are not going to the show, it's going to be $100 US, signed and numbered in pencil, by the way. The number selection is going to be pretty sparse. So if you want a specific number, you're going to have to let me know. But honestly, for this price, it's going to be the number that we select. Beautiful, beautiful colors, archival inks, archival paper. And the shipping is extra. It depends on where you live. Now, if you are wanting multiple quantities of this, I can do a little bit better price for you from the $100, but it depends on how many you buy. So that starts around, if you buy 5 or 10 of them, we could talk more about an additional discount. All right, guys. Thank you guys for supporting Jerry Terratelli. This holiday sale, basically, will run through the end of the year. So you have until the end of the year to message me. All right, guys. Happy collecting.
Vintage Magic. Game, collect, invest. For more information about our consulting and professional services, visit vintagemagic.com.
Welcome back, everybody. Welcome back. It's me, Daniel, with vintagemagic.com. Haven't done one of these finance videos of Magic the Gathering art for a while, but I'm really excited about this one today because we have today the original painting of Bazaar Baghdad by Chris Moeller. And if you are a Magic fan, this one is quite a piece. This video is about why are people investing in Magic the Gathering art that is replica paintings, or in this case for the Bazaar Baghdad, a card that was never actually printed for an actual set. It was actually done for Magic Online. And Magic Online is a set that was created for the Magic Online game only. I don't know if you guys know what Magic Online is. It basically is a format of gameplay on Magic before Magic Arena, where you could basically play vintage and legacy formats. Maybe you have some other formats you could have, but generally those two were the main ones. And Wizards basically hired the artists and used images for some of the prizes they gave away for the Eternal Weekend. So for example, I'm going to Lucca, Italy for Eternal Weekend. Sorry guys, Lucca, Italy this week for November 27th for Eternal Weekend Europe. And it used to be that Eternal Weekend was only for North America. Well, the last, I don't know how many years it's been, like 5 years plus, it's basically been for North America, Europe, and Asia. So you have 3 different markets that basically play Eternal. What is Eternal formats? Well, for those of you who don't know, it's Vintage and Legacy. Vintage is basically every card in Magic the Gathering's history, including the Power 9, and basically you have Legacy, which is basically the same as Vintage, but minus the more powerful cards, such as Bazaar Baghdad, Mission's Workshop, Power 9. Those ones were not allowed to use the Legacy, but you're allowed to use the dual lands, which is why dual lands are so popular and useful. Legacy has been around for a while, and it's arguably one of the most popular Eternal formats ever created. Now, you also have some old school players who will be there, stuff like that. So if you are at Eternal Weekend Europe, I'll be there this November 27th to the November 30th. I'll be working with Jerry Terratelli, the Magic artist who did Richard on Port. So I'll be working with him, and we've been friends for years. If you're there, please stay hi. Love to see you, especially those Italian friends and customers I've seen, I've done business with for all these years. Love to see you guys. All right, so why are people buying this piece? Like, this piece is not actually a card, right, that was printed. Now, I will say the number one reason why I believe that this client enjoyed this piece is that the client has an affinity towards being, obviously in the UAE, and also has an Arabic descent. There is an affinity there. But the guy is also a collector of Magic art and collectibles in general. And this also brings the question, well, what about like the Moxes, like the Mox Jet, the Sapphire, etc. Mox Diamond from Volkenbaga, right? These are cards that were used for Magic Online, but not for a card that was printed. Except the one time they did this was the From the Vault Mox Diamond by Volkenbaga, which I used to own years ago. And that piece was actually the only Mox Diamond that was a reserve list card that was printed as like a promo thing. And a lot of people got upset with it, thus Wizards didn't print it again, because they thought the reserve list was going to get broken. But Thereafter, in terms of all the prizes, you have Ancestral Recall, Black Lotus. If you have different variations of all these famous cards, Gaia's Cradle, Richard on Port, but Richard on Port is not a reserve list cards. But you understand the direction I'm going with this. There's a lot of cards that were printed that were on reserve lists that were just for prizes. And they're like championship prizes. You'll see Legacy Champion or the North American Champion, Legacy Champion, or a Vintage Champion, etc. Right? You have all these prizes that have been handed out. Why are people buying into this, and why is there growth? Also, let's also pose the question: why are people buying replica paintings from artists like Doug Schuler, Dan Frazier, Mark Poole, whoever, right? Jesper Mirfors, all these older vintage artists, and even some of the new ones sometimes, they are creating replica paintings, meaning, let's say you have the original Sarah Angel right here, theoretically. Doug Schuler repaints a replica Sarah Angel that looks very similar to the original one every year. His rule is that he will paint one a year. He puts the date on the painting, so you can only get one per year. Some artists are willing to paint more than one per year, and that's okay, right? That's their choice. So why are people buying that? These are the questions we're going to answer today. All right, so let's get right into this particular sector. Paintings that are kind of in that realm, why they're not printed as a card. You're wondering, like, why would people invest big money into this, and why there's growth potential? Well, Magic's history has so much cool art and cool cards and promos and unique event cards and different things, right? By documenting that, you have basically various prize cards or Magic Online cards, etc., that people really love the images of. Now, this one is not a card that was played. However, it's a reproduction of a card that's one of the most iconic cards in Magic's history, the Bazaar of Baghdad. The original was done by Jeff Mingus, right? And that's the only printed version ever. Therefore, there's this kind of like, investment play where you have a big name card, right? But then you also get the other version of it. It may not be the original card, but you have a great affinity towards it as a personal standpoint, but most importantly, it's one of the most iconic cards ever created in Magic's history. So when you have cards like Gaia's Cradle, Underground Sea, Volcanic Island, Mox Jet, Mox Pearl, whatever you got, the Ancestral Recall, Time Twister, being reprinted as a prize, right? They're never used as a card, remember that. They may have it blown up as like an actual prize card, like a jumbo card. It's like huge, it's a huge image, but those are just for the prize, and it literally says the prize name. But there's like this interesting thing with Magic where you have affinity towards different iconic cards, even if they're not printed. Also, there's a following for the artists. I want you to keep in mind something. Volkan Baga, who did the Moxes for the original Magic Online, his Moxes have like his hands. Not his hands, but model's hands, whatever. And he put like the image of the Mox on the hand. And if you pull these images up, they're really iconic. And thus, if you guys have been, not in the Magic history world recently, they had this Soul Stone from Volkan Baga as one of the images, using the hands with the Soul Stone. And that they're going to use other Infinity Stones from Marvel with the same image style with the two hands with the stone and have a background around it. The Bazaar of Baghdad, is done by Chris Moeller. Chris Moeller is a really interesting artist, has an illustration background, really widespread fan base, and has a beautiful, beautiful style of work. And this piece really is one of his best, if not the best piece I think he's ever created. And so you have different artists doing these replica or these championship prize artworks, and there's been many nods to different artists to different pieces, and it's been an exciting collectible thing for the collectors and investors. So I think that uniqueness of owning something, even though it wasn't printed as a card, actually elevates the value of pieces like this and has long-term investment potential. As you know, the US dollar and the crazy tariffs and stuff like that are going on, are affecting the economy, right? The value of the US dollar is not going to be worth the same as commodities or collectibles. So people are parking their money into other investments like art and collectibles to basically find other ways to beat the inflation rate and the every year. And with inflation going up so high all the time, this is a nice way to diversify your portfolio. All right, so let's talk about replica paintings also. We have to talk about that. And I was mentioning to you about Doug Schuler. Dan Fraser has done the Moxes, for example, as replica paintings. They look very similar to the original Moxes. I know Jesper Meerforce, Mark Poole, different old school artists have done paintings like this. I've heard of like newer artists done similar replica paintings. Why is there a market for it? Why would someone want a copy of a time walk like by Amy Weber of a painting, and why would they want that? Well, the number one reason is because it's magic history, and there's a collectability side that is by the masses that will pay not the same price of an original time walk, for example, that's worth over $1 million plus, right? Or a Mox Sapphire that we just sold for $1.1 million, the original art. You can buy a replica painting from Dan Fraser for a fraction of the cost. I don't know his exact prices these days, but the size matters, right? But I would guess that anywhere from $2,000 to $3,000 minimum to like $5,000, $10,000, $15,000. I'm not sure, depending on if it's oils, acrylics, etc. Right? Everybody's prices are different, but I will say that compared to paying over $1 million for the Mox Sapphire, you can essentially own a replica painting. That's pretty insane. Now, the painting for the Mox Sapphire was a different medium, and the styling is slightly different. Dan does more oils and acrylics type of thing now. So for you to get the same style would be next to impossible. And it definitely does not look exactly the same, but it's called a replica, meaning the artist kept the colors and the styling, everything similar to the old school magic art before. Let me show you a replica painting I'm working with an artist called Jerry Tiratelli. Hold on a second. All right, guys, so check this out real quick. Here's an example of a replica painting I'm bringing to Lucca, Italy. This is the Goblin Lackey by Jerry Tiratelli. If you pull up the image for Urza's Saga, this is a very similar image, but it is not the original painting they used for the card. And in the back here, it has been signed in pencil by Jerry Tiratelli. And it says Goblin Lackey 2 of 10. Meaning this, I work with Jerry directly. There's only 10 replicas that will ever be done of an exact image by Jerry. Now, we have done variations of it. You could put like a Goblin Lackey with a hat or a specific thing. But there's only 10 of the replicas. And here is a really cool collectible. With it, you get a certificate of authenticity of this piece. This is handwritten by Jerry, by the way. And then you have a beautiful image of the Goblin Lackey as a remark on the certificate of authenticity. Pretty flippin' cool, right? So this is an example of one. And here's another one. Hold on a second. And for those of you who love Legacy, this card is called Sneak Attack. One of the most famous cards ever printed in Magic the Gathering history. It is from the Urza's Saga set also. And I love the image of the dragon being sneak attacked by goblins. So you got two famous characters, a dragon and goblins in Magic lore and history, being used in an image by Jerry Tiratelli. But this is not the original Sneak Attack. In fact, this is, again, a replica painting, 2 of 10, by Jerry Tiratelli. And it is on canvas. I believe the original was in acrylics. This one, I believe, is in oils. So there's another certificate of authenticity, as we mentioned, with the Goblin Lackey replica. And this gives you an idea of what what the painting, you would get if you bought this one from Jerry. All right, let's go back into the investment level and thoughts to close it out. All right, guys, let's close out this video and talk more about my final thoughts here. So, as far as what this video is supposed to kind of show you guys is kind of where the market is going in a different direction to some collectors. Some collectors will argue, by the way, in this video, say, well, if you buy a replica or you buy a piece like this isn't the original Bazaar Baghdad. So it's just a big waste of money. I would argue, I'm not saying this as a dealer, I'm saying this as a collector and investor of things also, that you're wrong. Because I believe that the people that are investing and buying into this really love Magic. And it's not like they don't want to own a piece of Magic history. It's just the sheer cost to own the original Mox Sapphire, or the original Time Walk, or Black Lotus that sold for $4 million in 2022, right? Who the heck can buy a Black Lotus painting for that kind of money? Not very many people, and there's very few whales out there in Magic the Gathering, collector, investor world, and let alone they would actually buy it. That's the thing. The thing is, people love these other repaints and replicas and cards that have not been printed because it gives them that nostalgia factor. They're sometimes more beautiful art. I'm gonna say that for just my opinion, that sometimes the art is better looking from the replicas or the prize cards, in my opinion. It also brings a factor of unique, cool collecting, stuff that you can have in addition to your collection for Magic. Another thing I really think that this helps here for investing is it's good for diversification, a portfolio. A lot of people have a lot of cards and other things, and things can get a little stagnant. If you only collect Alpha, Beta, Unlimited, Arabian Nights, Legends, Antiquities, The Dark, Fallen Empires, collecting those old school sets, you're gonna get bored. It's time for you to invest into other things. So people are looking at alternative collectible assets in Magic the Gathering history, like this, and investing in it. And it could be a nostalgia thing, possibly, something that you have an affinity for, but it could be also a card you used to play a lot, you want other variations of. It doesn't matter, right? It doesn't have to be a card that's been printed, I think, these days. So, I hope you guys got a lot of those out of this video. I know there's a lot to talk about, in this topic, but I think I've covered all the bases here. If you're ever interested in collecting Magic the Gathering art in general, you have questions of replica paintings, etc., we have invested multiple six figures in Magic the Gathering replica art. I've invested a lot of money into this, and I'm very bullish on the sector. So we will start probably releasing some of this art in the near future for sale. I've been doing this for a long time, so I have pieces going way back, right? And I have a lot of pieces like this where I bought into the Magic the Gathering prizes. I believe I still have the Mox Jet from Vulcan Baga for Magic Online. I still have that prize. My friend Steve Menendian sold that to me years ago, and that card, it's not a card, it's a used for Magic Online, but I still have that painting, and I'll probably be offering that for sale here soon. So things like that, you'll be seeing more and more availability for. So don't miss out on the opportunities. A lot of these are one of a kind, and unlike the replica paintings, like these original paintings, there's only one of one. Even though they were not printed by an actual card, they're still one of one paintings. And later on, investing in Magic, I think they're going to go up in value quite a bit. All right, guys. Well, I hope to see you guys in Lucca, Italy. If you're going, check it out. Go to Jerry Turritelli's booth. I hope to see you there. Have a great week. What's up, guys? Before we start the video, I want you to take a look at these beautiful archival prints by our artists we work with. These are all artists that we work with directly. This paper and the ink is used is all archival, meaning it's acid-free, signed in pencil in most cases, and numbered. These various prints can be found on our eBay store or purchased directly. You can contact me at daniel@vintagemagic.com. We have various sizes also. This is just a little selection of it. And I want to let you guys know prints are becoming a hot investment in the Magic community. They represent a really great nostalgia factor. You can hang them up on your wall. You can put them in your portfolio and look at them over and over again. And because they are signed, they make it extra special and an extra important investment for your collection. So please, guys, if you have any questions on prints, you have any interest in purchasing any, we have a lot more other ones coming up available. But check this out. Enjoy the video, guys. Thank you for investing in Magic art.
Hey everyone, it's me, Daniel with VintageMagic.com. I want to share with you more about how we handle consignments. So to begin the consignment process, we actually need to start with the consultation service. In this consultation, I will determine what you're looking to do. And generally, consigners usually tell me, hey Dan, I'm looking to sell my items and maximize the value of their collection. After we determine through the consultation, I usually like to do an appraisal process. And an appraisal process in terms of a consignment is more fitted towards authenticity and valuation for current market values. From there, after a contract is crafted and signed, we will then receive the items from you. The reason why our consignment process is very thorough is we also identify cards that could be graded so then they can maximize higher dollar values. So the payment process is very simple. Once we have sold your items, you'll get an updated ledger and we will process payment for whatever form of payment you need. As a consigner, you're gonna experience our white glove service. What that means is I'm gonna personally handle your collectibles from beginning to end. And rest assured, the client that purchases your collectibles will also receive the same white glove service. It's a signature service that I really pride myself on in working closely with my clients.
Vintage Magic. Game, collect, invest. For more information about our consulting and professional services, visit vintagemagic.com.